Okay, next section of your novel study that we're going to go over is the questions for chapters 10 through 11. Kind of sad chapters. Actually, who am I kidding? They're really sad chapters. Okay. Chapter 10 is first. So, question 1. Why does Miss Edmonds invite Jessie to accompany her to the National Gallery in Washington? Because he has never been to an art gallery and he likes to draw. So that's why she invited him. Number 2 was a repeat question from the last chapter, section of chapters. So I crossed that out. Number 3, who calls on the phone? Well, that was Miss Edmonds. What does the person on the phone want? She wants to invite him to the museum for the day. Either the Smithsonian or the National Gallery. They went to both. So, number 5, why does Jess not tell his mother where he is going? And this is kind of an integral part in this chapter because it's not it's kind of the fact that it's because Miss Edmonds is a teacher, but he also wants to be able to go with her. So when he's waking his mom up and it's still very early in the morning, she's kind of like in that half sleep state that you don't really know what's going on. Like you can hear somebody talking to you, but it's not really registering. So, going back to the question, why does Jess not tell his mother where he is going? Because he thought she would say no. So that's why. Number 6, what didn't occur to Jess until the car was past Millsburg? What had occurred to him once he was past Millsburg was that he should have asked if Leslie could go also. He didn't think about it at the time until they were way past the house in Millsburg, the town. So, that I think that's one of the main reasons why he feels really guilty at the end of that chapter, or well, during chapter 11, but we'll get to that in a minute. Number 7, when does Jess first realize that something is wrong? This is not when he's with Miss Edmonds at the museums. This is after she drops him off at home. So when he realizes something is wrong, the TV is off. Everyone was in the kitchen, but there was no food on the table. And you can say that everyone was quiet or crying. Any one of those would have worked. But that's when he realizes that something was wrong, that everyone was in the kitchen, but there was no food on the table, and that the TV wasn't on. That's a huge part of it. Number 8, why is the family so surprised to see Jesse when he returns from the museum? Why does Jesse sense that something is different before he speaks to anyone? And this is kind of going back to the last question. But the first part is that they thought that Jess was with Leslie and that he could have been dead. At that point, he doesn't realize that Leslie is dead, that they hadn't told him yet. But they thought that he had been with her and was also had also obviously drowned, because we know from the book, from earlier in the book, that Jesse can't swim. And you kind of pick up on that when Leslie is talking about the scuba diving trip. That was her favorite hobby. But it doesn't actually happen. Like he wants to learn how to swim from her, but it obviously never happens. But when they're describing the scuba diving trip in the paper, sorry, my dog is laying against my pillows and she's dreaming. So if it seems a little jerky, that's why. So when he is hearing how scuba diving is described, he's feeling very panicky. He's feeling like the water filling up in his lungs. He's feeling like he's drowning because he can't swim. So that's why the parents obviously feared the worst. The second part of that question, why does Jess sense something that is different before he even speaks to anyone? Well, they're all sitting in the kitchen, the TV is off, and no one's talking. Okay. And then number 9, what is the bad news at home? Leslie is dead. She has died. So that's the bad news. Okay. Next part. Interesting. Chapter 11 questions. Number 10. Number 10. How does Jess react when he was given the news? Jess is obviously in denial, which is one of the stages of grief. You deny that the person is dead. You deny to yourself, you deny to others, you don't accept it. So he's denying it and he's angry. He thinks his father's lying to him. Any of those answers would work. So number 11, how does the accident happen? Well, she was swinging on the rope that was on the crabapple tree to get to Terabithia, and it broke, and she fell into the creek. When she fell into the creek, she hit her head and was probably knocked unconscious, and that's how she drowned. Okay, so number 12, describe how Jess feels when he wakes up in the middle of the night. So this is after he ran from the house and his father had to chase him down in the truck and take him back home. And when he went back home, he went straight to bed. So this is in the middle of the night after he's been asleep for hours upon hours. He wakes up confused. He thought he had a bad dream. He doesn't believe that Leslie is dead, and like I said, he just thought it was a bad dream. He just thought he woke up from this nightmare like this didn't really happen. This couldn't have happened. Number 13. Why does Jess's father suggest that they should pay a visit to the neighbors? He thought that they should pay respects to Leslie's family. That's the simple answer. Number 14. Why does Jess have so much difficulty accepting Leslie's death? The main reason is that he can't imagine her being dead because she was such a great swimmer. It shouldn't have happened, basically, is what he's saying, because she was able to swim and therefore she shouldn't have drowned. Number 15. Why does Jess react to the news of Leslie's death by running? He doesn't believe it, so he thinks that it's all a bad dream and it's not real, and that's why he runs away from the house. He wants to get away from it. Number 16. What does Jess wish he had the opportunity to confess to Leslie? That he was afraid to go to Terabithia that morning, and that was one of the things that he did not get to say to her. He had thought about it the night before, and he was going to tell her that morning after he milked the cow, and then Miss Edmonds called and said, let's go to the museum, and he went to the museum. And then lastly, for the section, number 17, why did Maybelle say that she wanted to visit the neighbors with them? That is because she had never seen a dead body before. Back then, sometimes, yes, there were funeral parlors, but sometimes bodies were laid out in houses so people could come and pay respects before the funeral. That happened in Number of the Stars when we talked about the funeral of Great Aunt Bertha. The casket was brought into the house for the family to mourn over the casket or over the body. And sometimes it was like that back in the 70s too. So that's that section. Next section will be for chapters 12 and 13. So the last 2 chapters of the book.